Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
This should be a nice brief one.
Mhm.
That makes 7.
I
think we have 5.
Stuck with the rest of us.
Okay,
Cheers.
excellent. Thank you. And I assume that someone is starting the recording. Not
It
sure
hasn't
who
yet
does.
started it.
If nothing else, I found the button to do it.
Well,
Holly, is that you?
do you know, Polly, who is supposed to? I mean, we have city council chambers in there, so I had assumed that that was our
Usually
staff.
does.
There.
Did you start it? Okey doke. Let me begin then. The December meeting of the library board is called to order. Roll call.
Board members Brenmoen,
Here.
Jalali,
Here.
Naker,
Here.
Tao, Tolbert,
Here.
Yang, Chair Prince,
Here.
5 present, 2 absent, being board members Tao and Yang, who are excused. Item number 1, approving the minutes of the September and October library board meetings.
Assuming that there is no discussion, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Tolbert. Roll call vote.
Board members Brenmoen,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Tao, Tolbert,
Yes.
Yang,
Here.
Chair Prince. 6 in favor, none opposed. The minutes are adopted. Item number 2, Resolution 12-1628, approving the debt write-off for 2021.
Are there any questions or any discussion of this item? Hearing none.
Oh.
Oh, did we have,
I didn't raise my hand normally.
oh, okay. Ms. Naker?
Thanks, Chair Prince. I was just wondering if we could get a little bit of staff report on this item, a little bit of information.
Absolutely. Ms. Pinker?
Sure. Yep, Chair Prince, Board Member Naker. This is the annual resolution we bring forward to the library board in December of each year. We put this process into place, I think it was in 2018, when we instituted the fine-free policy. The work to institute that policy also highlighted that the library had not been routinely writing off uncollectible debt. And so this resolution you're seeing here is the same essentially as the resolution you've seen each December for the past couple of years, and passing this on an annual basis just helps us to stay up to date on our books with, again, writing off the uncollectible debt. The one minor shift in this year's is that typically the date range is it's all debt more than 2 years old. This year it's written, I believe it's till March 30th of 2019 or 2020. Basically all debt incurred pre-pandemic we're writing off, so that if anyone had any debt that was in the window of time, just the January or February before the pandemic came and shut everything down, if we were on a strict 2-year cycle, someone could still potentially be locked out of their library account for something that happened in January of 2020. We just want to clean that up, and everything that happened pre-pandemic is written off in this resolution.
Ms. Naker, did you have a follow-up? You're on mute.
That almost never happens. Thank you, Chair Prince. Director Pinker, can you, I didn't see an attachment showing how much debt is being written off. Do you have that information?
I can provide an estimate. It is approximately $200,000. It is a moving target because, again, we write this off. It's defined by date, not by kind of a finite amount. And so we do this resolution you passed today gives us permission to write off debt once we roll into the new calendar year. So say someone today has a material out that's showing a fine or a fee for the unreturned material, but if they bring that tomorrow, that won't be included when we take this action at the end of this month. So I can't give you down to the dollars and cents because it's a bit of a moving target, but I can say it's approximately $200,000.
And one last follow-up, Chair Prince, do you know, Director Pinkert, how, because I know one of the lines in the resolution is about the library regularly assessing its policies to make sure that it's being a good steward of materials. And I know with the shift to not having fines and fees, the discussion we all had was, but this still means you have to return things to the library. But with debt being written off after a certain period of time, that is sort of not enforcing that policy. So I think it's just important to keep an eye on how much that debt write-off is each time we do it. And so are you tracking that over time? And do you know how this compares to the previous times we've done it?
Board Member Prince, Board Member Naker, we do regularly track this. A couple of things. One, I want to remind everyone that even in past practice before we went fine-free, no entity was taking any action to try to collect any debt that was more than 2 years old. And so there was no active efforts being made to get materials back. All of the active efforts are in the first 2 years of missing something. And what was happening beyond the 2-year point was just simply that people weren't able to use the library. They were locked out of their account. And that changed when we all, made the change to go fine-free and really lean into greater access to library services. that, that 2-year time period where we are actively working on materials recovery efforts, and that is when you could be locked out, would stay. But then again, at this 2-year period, that's what we define as now uncollectible debt, and that's when we take the write-off action. So just want to remind what the shift in practice really was. It was about getting more people back to library access. In terms of, globally, since we've gone fine free, we don't see anything in our materials collection to give us any concerns here. Of course, any data on anything over the past, nearly 2 years has huge asterisks and stars next to it because it's really been an incomparable time period. But really, we see nothing concerning on our end.
So you can provide that amount maybe in follow-up of debt write-off?
Of debt write-off, what specifically are you requesting?
I think it's important that we have the amount of debt that we're writing off so that we're aware of that both this time and then comparing it to previous times. Previous years, I think we do this annually when we've done the write-off.
Correct. If you're asking, I will follow up on that question. I don't have those numbers today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Naker. Mr. Tolbert?
Yeah, I have a question, but first I have just a comment to follow up, and it might be worth when you're pulling those numbers. I think the first debt write-off we did that I recall was under Director Hadley. So that would have been back, I don't know, 2014, 2015, I think she would have been her last year. And we forgave a ton of debt that year. I think it was everything over 7 years. And that, that was during the time when we had, instead of being fine free, you could, read off your fees. I guess the question I have, and maybe you can just explain this, Catherine, is how people, if we're fine free, how people can still rack up debt, because I think that's something, just in case anyone's watching this, it's important for people to understand, because it kind of seems counter to each other.
Yes, Board Chair Prince, Board Member Tolbert, thank you. It is a good question to continue to clarify what is a fine-free library. So in a fine-free library, you're not getting charged the daily penalty for having an item overdue. However, if you have a material that's out longer than a determined amount of time, now we say that material is lost. And so at that point, the library issues a bill for the cost of that material. If you bring the material back, you're good. You get your library access back. If you don't bring the material back, that's how you have, that's the main way someone would have a charge on their account. And that could prevent them from accessing the library. And so really the effort there is, sort of the trade-off is you borrow materials, you bring them back, you get to keep using the library. You borrow materials and you don't bring them back, then your account might be locked out until you bring that material back, or you pay the fee for the lost material, or the 2-year period passes.
Before the 2-year period, do patrons have the option to read off their lost book fine?
I believe we still have the read down option in place. Yeah, we really are very, very willing to work with people. Again, our primary goal is that people are using the library. And so if someone cannot pay that fee, we really will try to work with them.
Okay. Yeah. If we can just confirm that, because I think that is an option that people should have. I still think that was a really good idea, and it encourages people to read, and then kind of, I guess maybe it's what Commissioner Naker's question. We're ensuring that there aren't people who just take out a bunch of books, like haven't not returned 50 books or anything like that. Do we have some sort of just double check that any of the people we're writing off fines, it's not, we all make mistakes, and I've lost books from the library as well. So I'm not, I understand it happens, but want to make sure that people aren't taking excessive amounts of books that are not returning. We don't see that, do we?
Board Member Prince, Board Member Tolbert, I don't have that specific answer with me today. I'll say there is, if I believe in the resolution, there's some specific language for high value items, and we really in a public library don't have very many. But if a high value item were to go missing and not come back, that is an item that might get put into, if the library's recovery efforts weren't successful, we would put that into the Office of Financial Services recovery efforts. And so we do have a process in place for if and when a high value item doesn't come back. That's a little different than most other items.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, Ms. Yang moves approval of this resolution. Roll call.
Board members Brenmon,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Tao, Tolbert,
Yes.
Yang,
Aye.
Chair Prince.
Aye.
6 in favor, none opposed. The minutes or the resolution is adopted.
And before we close, I just want to make a note. Ms. Mormon, who is staffing our reparations effort for the City Council, has reached out to the St. Paul libraries, to our research librarians, to work with our offices, with the Legislative Advisory Committee, and to create a resource list, bibliography of materials relating to the subject of reparations and racial justice. And they have done an extraordinary job of that. You can now go on stpaul.gov/reparations and you can find their work. It's a spreadsheet with 31 pages of resources on this important topic that the city has made a commitment to. So I just want to thank the libraries. Ms. Penkert, please pass along our strong support to the research librarians who gave so generously of their time to create this amazing resource that will actually be something that, you know, our fellow cities, states, and elected officials at all levels will be able to access. And it makes me very proud of our city and our work. And with that, are there any other questions, issues, any other business? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.